What's up? Another episode, One Fall WrestleCast. Derek's not here tonight. Got a text message about, I don't know what, Tom, 2 hours ago.
2 hours, yeah.
I got more important shit to do than talk to you two fucks. So here we are, me and Tom. Yeah, so we're going to talk about some things. Obviously, CM Punk has spoken for the first time since we were here last, even though we tried to do a live reaction watch along last week. That was really swell of us. Free agency news, lots of it, and some unhappy folks in the land of the elite. Should be a pretty good show. Tom and I tend to make tons of chicken salad out of little to no chicken shit.
Welcome to the One Fall WrestleCast.
What's up, bud?
We the ones again.
We are the ones, and
we're always the
Derek's
ones.
The two.
We're always the ones, but he wasn't that mean when he told us he wasn't coming.
Oh, and of course, as soon as I click record, he wants to start acting up.
Tom, I don't want to bury Derek at the offset.
Let's try that again.
No, don't click the button again.
Are you there?
Don't do it. I'm here. Don't click the button again. You're freezing up.
Awesome.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. We're watching some wrestling. Drew McIntyre is grabbing Sami Zayn by the beard. Anyway, are you there? Are you back? I think you're back. You moved too quickly.
After he just got a pretty scathing promo from what I read here as I scroll through our stuff, he made the comment that you can just quit or walk out or get fired, and it seems like you're welcome back with open arms no matter what these days. And he tweeted out earlier this week, earlier today, maybe this week at some point, that something about not really liking the direction of the company. Sour grapes from Mr. McIntyre?
Is it, or is it kayfabe? I feel like with Drew, it's probably kayfabe. I think Triple H is wise to people being wise on stuff, and to have they clearly just put him on TV, so it's not they're not using him. But no, I feel like with Drew, I think that at this point, really, where are the greener pastures? And we've got more to talk about in regards to this particularly. But with Drew particularly, he's a huge dude, right? He's a WWE guy. He is a guy. He's great at media stuff. He is phenomenal at that.
He's a PR machine.
Always, he's always good on TV. He's a draw. He's definitely a draw. If I'm him, am I probably a little bit pissed that I'm not the guy all the time? Because it's clearly it's kind of the Seth and Roman show, and it really sort of has been for the last 5 or so years. Longer than that if you really want to talk about it, but particularly the last 5 or so years, minus a few hiccups there during the pandemic. It's really been consistently the Drew or the Seth and Roman show, and I think that he would prefer it to be the Seth, Roman, Drew, and Brock Lesnar show, but it just hasn't really come to that, and I still think that the best place for him, in terms of money, in terms of TV time, in terms of creative and what have you, really is WWE. I don't think that there are greener pastures for Drew McIntyre or Drew Galloway, which is his real name. I don't think there are greener pastures for him elsewhere at this moment in time. However, I would imagine he's probably a little bit frustrated that he's not on top. And then now that CM Punk's back as well, there's that. But I think that's part of the allure of the CM Punk, because if it's anybody else that comes back, notice we're not talking about this with Randy Orton's comeback, right? Nobody's like, oh, Randy Orton's back, Drew's screwed. But with Punk, it's like, oh, are people actually mad at Punk? Like, nobody said outright that they're, I mean, I guess Seth did sort of in a kayfabe manner, but I don't know. I feel like this is sort of part of the CM Punk effect, and they're just looking to make money on it in whichever way they can and get people over in whichever way they can, because even the wrestlers know that, like, there's a chance this could pop off and be a real short run. We've seen that happen already. May as well make
but
the best of it while we,
and obviously, we're gonna eventually gonna get to Phil here today. But I really wanted to lead off the show talking about Drew, just especially as outspoken as he's been, and then the alleged storming off. So maybe you're right. Maybe there is something to this whole being kayfabe thing, right? Because even the next night in Peoria, Illinois, they had him cut a promo for an online segment. You know what I mean? And it's just, Drew McIntyre's been a little tired, whatever. No better place to get back on track than here in Peoria, Illinois. I feel like maybe they're trying to repackage him. They're in the process of repackaging him maybe into the Scottish psychopath, and they're actually gonna let the psychopath piece like kind of play out a little bit.
Well, he just beat the tar out of Sami Zayn, who is one of the biggest baby faces on the roster at the moment. So if he's about to heel feud with, I think that's great. Honestly, I think Drew's a better heel than he is a face, I think that really only ups his character from there. I think he's had a face run as a champ. I'd like to see a heel run as a champ or something. Really, and
he had his heel run in NXT as the champion.
Right, it was a great run. I liked it. It was really good. Why not recreate that on the main roster? I don't see a problem with that either. I mean,
no, not at all. But
at the very least, people got to do something to keep. And I'm here for Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn, or if it ends up being Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso through Sami Zayn, which seems to be what the segment that just happened. Like, I'm here for that. I think that's a great. I think that's a great feud that I'm tuning into.
Yeah, but I think that the argument can be made about making Drew McIntyre a heel because, like we did say, like he's a PR monster. He does so many public appearances. I mean, just this past weekend, WWE did the collaboration with the Big 12 conference for the Big 12 championship football game, and Drew McIntyre was there, with The Undertaker. Jade Cargill was there. Some big faces, for this publicity that he does. Can we look at him as a PR guy playing a heel on television? Is this us like moving on from Vince McMahon and having a heel be the face of your company that goes out and does positive PR? Because, generally when we've never seen that before, right? Because when Vince was in power, you would never see a heel doing media like that. And I think that we see a lot of that. Maybe that's just that perceived value of what Drew McIntyre does. Now, obviously, I guess I can't be 100% truthful saying that a heel has never done PR. I mean, The Miz is a PR machine, but
yeah,
he's also.
Triple H also was regularly a heel, but was also always kind of was always on talk shows and what have you. I think they may ask Drew to be a little less nice about it, a little more heelish. In his PR stints, it won't be all puppies and rainbows necessarily, but I certainly think that there's a place for especially a heel in the. He's not a despicable heel, right? Like, he won't be despicable. He won't be a he won't be a chicken shit heel either. Although that works for the Miz. He'll just kind of be a like dominant heel, but he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. Kind of the like almost a tweener, but he's gonna beat up the baby faces, kind of a thing, because he's gonna see them as like sort of the bad guy, at least for a little while. So I don't think that necessarily it's going to matter exactly. He's just not going to be able to, he's just not going to be able to do like John Cena-esque stuff, right? It's going to be a little less John Cena, a little more Miz, a little more Triple H. You know what I mean?
Which, in my opinion, like is going to be great, because I do feel like Drew is desperately in need of a fresh coat. Like the sword's got to go. Like we've got to get away from some of those elements that we put in during his massive, Thunderdome Babyface Championship run, right? And well, all that stuff lends credibility to his presentation from a cinematic standpoint. Yeah. I think from putting him in a situation of trying to be a top heel, that doesn't really help him very much.
Right, he's got to come out of nowhere and kick Sami Zayn's head off sometimes. Like that's just got to happen, right?
Yeah, and I mean, and the Claymore is very much like the RKO in that manner, where it can come out of nowhere, and there's always some really cool shit that happens when a Claymore comes out of nowhere. Much like when an RKO comes out of nowhere. It's the
right. And if you think about it, when he turned face too, they made Drew start counting it down. Well, but heel Drew doesn't count it down. He just kicks your head off. People are like, oh my God. Like, and that's really, to me, that's more impactful. I understand the whole babyface thing, because they did it with Roman when he'd stand there and the Superman punch, and before the spear, all that stuff.
Well, I mean, he still does that, and the crowd still pops for that. But
yeah, I mean,
I mean, at its core, he's put into that situation to be the guy that we want to tune in to see every week, right?
Yeah. But I kind of touch and more future talks.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see Drew McIntyre get that big WWE contract extension / money that he feels that he deserves, because he absolutely does, from the standpoint of a quote unquote smart fan.
Drew's a top guy. He's a guy you put on a card, and he's that guy. And I think that for me particularly, he cut a promo before War Games on Jey Uso, who said, I've been away from my family for 7 years. And, he got in Jey Uso's face and was like, you took that from me. I was going to win in front of my family and have everything. And you took that from me. And now I'm going to take that out on your family. And I think that's really it gives him motivation. It's not he's just a heel because he's a dick. It's he's got motivation to take it out on these specific baby faces, right?
Right.
Jay. And then, by proxy, and also, because Sami Zayn was a part of that too.
Drew sure was.
For him to just terrorize Jay and Sami Zayn for the remainder of the year sounds great. I'm into that.
Yeah,
that makes sense to me.
Absolutely.
And I'll watch that.
Yeah. So I kind of touched on it here briefly while we were talking about Drew. Big collaboration for WWE this past weekend. In the national spotlight, the national media spotlight, doing a co-branded promotion with the Big 12 Conference for their football's championship game. I thought that was like a really, really big deal. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that has happened since the Endeavor acquisition, right? Since TKO Holdings became a thing. I feel like that's probably the biggest piece of business outside of the arena that WWE's put together since. It was really cool too to see the Undertaker there, with the championship belt. Now, I didn't really know what to expect, but I wasn't expecting it to be a Dr. Pepper championship. I mean,
I didn't know. I can't say that it's pretty, but the pictures of it were all over everything. So
yeah.
It's hard to knock it. I mean, it's not the prettiest belt I've ever seen in my life, but it's got big WWE logos on it, and we saw those on a bazillion
Draped
different
over
channels.
the Undertaker's shoulder.
Yeah, draped over, exactly. Handed to. See, had they told us that if we were better at sports, the Undertaker might hand us a WWE title, like, I feel like we'd have tried harder. Maybe worked out a little more, done a few more laps.
No, I really
No?
still like chicken wings. So, like,
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, I mean, I'm just saying I'd have thought about it. I'd have given it a.
I'd have thought about it until the sweet, sexy aroma of buffalo wings just wafted into my nostrils.
Showed up, and I feel like those old cartoons when they put the pie in the windowsill and Mickey floats to the pie just based off of the smell. That's what chicken wings do to me. I just float the chicken wings as they cool on the windowsill.
Hey, so you know what? I'm glad that we're having this conversation about chicken wings. You know what needs to be a thing? I think we need to go back to the spot in January and watch a Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah, let's do that. I'm down for that.
I think that'd be
dope. Let's do that.
okay. Let's do that.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get little Derek to actually cooperate and join us on an outing.
I think that's a great idea. Let's do that. I'm 100% down.
Awesome. Yeah,
100% down.
We'll make that happen. And we continue to like kind of talk about, are there greener pastures elsewhere? And that's gonna continue to be a theme of this show until we get to our main event, which, if you know anything about the show, you get the idea of what the main event is based off the thumbnail to the video. Hey, and by the way, if you're here hanging out, please hit that thumbs up button. Appreciate you. Lots of free agents going on right now.
It's the end of the year. That's how it goes. But yeah.
I would say that, Ricochet comes to mind, and his impending free agency.
I think that WWE would be stupid to let him go, but he could actually do really well in AEW too. He would immediately be the best AEW style wrestler in AEW because he's so much better than all the guys that try to be him. He would be, but because of that, I think that the Young Bucks won't want him to get signed because he's so much better than them at doing what they do.
Super Kick Party. No.
Or they'll bury him.
Well, yeah, that seems to be their MO, right?
Yeah, so I if I'm Ricochet, I'm trying to sign and ink my new WWE deal, and I'm AEW's not on my radar as anything more than a bargaining chip, because you could go to AEW and be buried by the Young Bucks for 3 years, and then maybe take a shittier contract in WWE to come back later, because that seems to be the case. Or just end up working for WWE again when Tony Khan finally is just like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And then he sells it to TKO and they do a new invasion.
You still think that's going to happen? 3 years later, you still think that's going to happen?
I don't know. Maybe. Did anybody see it happening with WCW?
No.
AEW is cheaper than WCW was.
But I mean, that fall from grace, that fall from grace is definitely something special right now. Yeah. So. But I feel like it's crazy that we're sitting here talking about Ricochet and the possibility of a big money contract when just a few short years ago he got squashed by Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel in fucking 22 seconds and then just seemingly disappeared from our television for almost 2 years. And now he's slowly started to make his babyface comeback in the limelight. And, he did a lot to stay relevant while he was off TV or working main event for that matter. You remember the shit that he did with Mustafa Ali on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in what Ricochet specifically is going to do, because I do feel like there is more upside for him possibly in AEW than there is in WWE. But I don't know, because Triple H is a different kind of monster, and I think that he's very much right now in a place where he's more concerned about what the fans want than getting his own agenda across. And I think that we as wrestling fans win when the mindset is situated as that. So another big name.
Good.
Another big name that's out there wandering around, who's been implicated in a possible WWE return, is one Mercedes Moné.
I'm so sad Derek's not here for us to talk about Sasha Banks coming back.
I could hear him now. Oh, Jesus, probably. They're fucking just gonna take her ball and go home. She didn't like what was given to her, so instead of just doing her job, she just took her ball and went home. And now here we are, we're sitting here talking about it, and now she's going to try to get a big money contract, and then we're going to get it, and then all of a sudden it's going to be, oh, I don't like what's happening, I'm going to take my ball and go home.
I mean, all that's not incorrect necessarily, but I don't know. It sure would make a lot of sense for her to come back. What if Damage Control turns on Bayley, or what if Bayley turns on Damage Control?
I think that her and Dakota are about to get fucking axed.
Who?
Bayley and Dakota. I think that they're using this as a vehicle to get Io, Kari, and Asuka over as a faction. And somehow or another, Dakota Kai and Bayley are going to wind up.
I mean, and then, but maybe that makes it 3-on-3 then, because maybe Sasha Banks, maybe Dakota and Bayley. Once Dakota's cleared to wrestle again, maybe that's what makes it 3-on-3.
Yeah, I mean, and there's definitely something built in right there, especially when we've got all these old friends reconnecting on television right in front of us recently. I mean, we've got the Cody Rhodes giving Randy Orton a call, and you got Charlotte giving the man a call. So why can't Bayley just the hug and boss connection?
Yeah. Hello. No, I mean it makes more sense now than it did at any point in the time in the last 2 years since she walked out. Yeah, it makes more sense now than it has at any point in time. And I think that once that happens, and I think it makes so much sense that if and when it happens, it gets a huge pop too, which is what the fans would want at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, hell has frozen over. CM Punk is in WWE.
Right? Of all people, if CM Punk can come back, anybody can come back.
So, I mean, and again, it's Triple H said it himself. It's about what the fans want. It's not necessarily what he wants. So, I mean, it's going to be an interesting road to walk for one Sasha Banks, a.k.a. Mercedes Moné. And I mean, she's positioned herself to be kind of a big deal since walking out of WWE, and she's only wrestled a handful of times. She
did get hurt too. So let's
right,
be fair
but
still,
she's
been pretty seriously hurt. But you know what? I think also it's probably kind of a learning opportunity too, because if you think about it this way, like in WWE, she was known for taking kind of these insane bumps. That's like, oh God, she died, right? Like we saw those bumps, we'd be like, oh God, she would hit her head on the bottom turnbuckle in a way that you were sure she wasn't going to be able to walk again. But then she was fine. Like she wandered out and gave a promo the next day, and we were like, "What you died? I saw you die. Why are you here?"
And I mean, we kind of we kind of talked about that last week a little bit too, with her being the bump machine. And yeah, man, I do miss seeing her ragdoll all over the place.
But also, so she left, right? And in leaving, she was hurt twice. So
Yes.
you mentioned that she had only wrestled a handful of matches because she was basically, once you leave WWE, you are not in the realm of the most professional of professionals anymore. You do not sit at the top of the mountain any longer. You're now working with talent who is new, who is indie, who is, not highly trained, not being watched by Shawn Michaels or Dusty Rhodes. Like, could you imagine? Like, when you talk about like the greats of all time, it's like, oh, well, Sasha Banks was trained by Dusty Rhodes, but now, when Dusty passed away, who took over? Shawn Michaels. So you're talking about like, you're at the top of the mountain here, and you're working with the best of the best who are being trained by the best who ever did it, right? For the most part, the best alive who can still portray how to do it, the best who ever did it. When you go to New Japan or whatever, they're great. Look, don't get me wrong. They're great, but they are not WWE caliber safe wrestlers whose job is to make sure that you can make 250 dates out of a 365 day a year. That's what you get in WWE. It's a longevity thing. You're there to work a less hard style. You are there so that when you work on Monday, when you get up on Tuesday, you can still go, I feel okay. Maybe I need 2 Advil, but then I'm going to go for a jog. You're not falling off of skyscrapers and then having to take 2 or 3 days to recover from a bump that probably would have killed most people. And that's really kind of the difference there. And, so she was hurt twice, one of which she's still recovering from and is still not cleared to wrestle anywhere. So her return to WWE could very well be, all right, I tried it. I lived my dream. I wrestled in Japan. It hurt more than I thought it was going to hurt. Let me play with my friends in WWE some more because they're not hurt. They're not going to throw me off a skyscraper, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and I think that's a big valid point that you just made there is the different style, right? And Triple H said this after Survivor Series, that right now everything is all about the longevity of the performer, right?
Yeah.
And he said that in regards to Jon Moxley's allegation of his mishandled concussion in AEW. And, we touched on that last week, but I think that it becomes very prevalent to the argument here is that WWE is very much looking at the product in broad spectrum from the standpoint of creating as much revenue as possible. And the best way to do that is to invest in the people that you put in front of the audience each and every single week.
Keep them healthy.
And you've got to keep them healthy. That's the biggest piece. And AEW hasn't quite figured that part out yet. And, but I'll tell you what, we're going to enjoy the train wreck while we can,
I'm not disagreeing with you, but yeah, that's the long and short of it. If you really want to get into it, it's just that you can't have people going out there and trying to kill themselves once a week. It's just not one. They're not getting the reps in. That's the other thing too with WWE is everybody's getting the reps in. By the time you see it on Monday night, they've already done it at least twice at the house shows the previous week. So, they've gotten the soft bump, slower pace practice in. They know the kind of match they're going to have. They know what the result's going to be.
And do you think that that's why the AEW television product suffers so much is because they're not regularly performing and doing
100%. I'm not. This isn't just a Tom opinion type of thing either. This is wrestlers continue to discuss every time that they say it that it's about reps, especially when you're young. Look, do the veterans need the reps? I mean, they probably need them to build up what they call that wrestling callus, so that those bumps don't hurt as much as they, because that shit hurts. But there's a callus to build up. So there's that. But especially when you're young, you need those reps. And I feel like there's a lot of young talent who was really hungry, and a lot of young talent that was really like they had a lot of potential, or they have a lot of potential in AEW, but they're just not getting the reps, and therefore we're just not seeing them progress in the way that you see people progress in WWE. You know what I mean? They're not progressing at the rate of a Braun Breaker or at the rate of a who's a Johnny Gargano, or the rate of a who else, like Swerve. They're not progressing at the, like, Swerve is there now, but he got there in WWE and then he went to AEW. Like, that was his, like, he didn't, it was a lateral transition type of thing. So, you know,
it wasn't at first. I mean, there was absolutely, hurdles for Swerve to overcome, a la Keith Lee, I
didn't hate that run. That was okay.
No, not at all. But I'm just saying, Keith Lee has not gotten the foothold that I think that he desired that he would have by going to the other channel. And
he's also way the fuck out of shape, if I'm being honest, dude. Like, as far as, like, if you look at him when he was working, a few nights a week in WWE versus right now. And granted, he's older. It's been a few years, but at the same time, it's like he's just not getting the reps in that he was. And he's the kind of guy that seems like maybe he needed the reps. You know what I mean?
No, that's fair. That's fair. And I'm sure that was a hard conclusion for you to draw, because you've always been a
I love Keith Lee. I love Keith. Top tier Keith Lee, to me, is one of the best guys in the business today. Occasionally he still shows signs of that, but I just don't think that he's getting the same opportunity, nor do I think that he is his chops are as sharp as they were when he was working in the WWE system. I just don't think his chops are as sharp.
So I think that as we continue to talk about free agency, there's plenty of other big names that have made their, made a name for themselves, we'll say, outside of WWE. And Okada is one of those guys that is allegedly coming up due for contract here with New Japan, and doesn't seem to sound like he's going to renew with New Japan. And I mean,
what a huge loss that would be.
That could always change, but I feel like we've heard a lot of chatter recently about WWE possibly wanting to pursue Okada, because he is the most sports entertainment pro wrestler in New Japan, right? Like,
oh yeah, and especially with Shinsuke with Shinsuke in the role that he's in right now in WWE, getting a little push, but it could also be sort of like his kind of twilight. Imagine if they bring Okada in and Shinsuke is his manager, so to speak, or at least his sort of like his buddy, a faction member, faction leader. I'm just saying, like, pair him with Shinsuke in some way. Just to keep, get him into the, could you imagine? Cause like Shinsuke is an older guy and he's probably on his way to, like, surf out into the sunset, maybe not work a hard schedule, but imagine if he and Okada are together and either they're a tag team and they let Shinsuke talk and they let Okada be the wow guy, but they also, let Okada talk a little, because Okada's English is actually pretty good too. Like, if we're being fair, as far as Japanese wrestlers are concerned, Okada speaks pretty well. And man, I really think they could do something special with those two, at least particularly to bring Okada in and maybe to give Shinsuke his kind of twilight run. Man, it could be really something special. And,
yeah, for sure.
And they've got the money. They've got the money.
Yeah,
let's put it that way. They could throw whatever amount of money they want at him, and it'll bring new foreign eyeballs. It'll bring new current. It'll also pull away from AEW, because those fans also know who Okada is, and don't think that Triple H isn't enough of a bastard to do that.
No, 100%. But I think what really tells the story that it's a possibility that we do get Okada in WWE is the way that Triple H has managed to position other Japanese talent even though traditionally Vince would feel like the language barrier was a problem.
Yeah.
But I feel like Triple H and Triple H's WWE, I think that they've done a really good job getting those types of people over, in promo segments and video packages that English is a
just
second
look at
language.
Asuka. Like, I mean, he could, like, Okada could be Asuka, just the male version. Like, Asuka's generally a champion, or always kind of just like about to be the champion or a champion. Okada could be the same way. Okada could be what Asuka is to the women's division. He could always be kind of. He's not clearly not going to be Roman Reigns. I think the language barrier is too much for that. Exactly. But to keep him on the cusp and always be that top tier main event talent type of guy, to pull him out for, hey, our Survivor Series team is Okada and Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins, and like that's awesome. That sells tickets. And I think that's how they look at it, is that he's not the guy they're going to build a company around or a brand around exactly, but he's certainly a guy that is going to be a draw and could pretty consistently be in a main event. And I would be happy to spend my Saturday evening watching an Okada versus Cody Rhodes title match, even if Okada loses to Cody Rhodes.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a. I don't think that many people would be that way to say it. And more top tier talent is great. I mean, I wouldn't hate to see that at all. I think if anything, is the problem, oh no, we have all the best wrestlers. Is that a problem?
No, not if they're being used properly.
No, not at all. Yeah, exactly. And then it gives other wrestlers a break too. You don't have to have Seth Rollins wrestle 200 matches a year.
No, and I think that as the WWE roster starts to get really crowded at the top, with the addition of CM Punk and possibly Mercedes Moné and possibly Okada, and then you've got your stalwarts, your Roman Reigns, your Bloodline, your Cody Rhodes, your Seth Rollins. That creates less of an undercard, right? Like, and does that become problematic for guys like The Miz or, we'll say Grayson Waller, Austin Theory? Does the crowd at the top that are going to command more TV time become a problem for those guys that are trying to really get their feet wet?
Well, no, because I think particularly the type of crowd that they're crowding at the top, not to use the word crowd so much, but I said it again for effect. I think the type of crowd that they're creating at the top is not the type of crowd that wants to go 20 or 30 minutes anymore. It's not, these aren't the guys that want to put on a Broadway. You know what I mean? These are the guys that, they're big, like they're not going to wrestle. The top guys, CM Punk's not going to wrestle that often. He wasn't hired
because he did that in AEW.
He was hurt all the time.
If you remember, he's out there wrestling Lee Moriarty on fucking Dynamite.
Yeah, no, and they're not going to do that to him in WWE. Like that's not the way it is. They want him to talk, and yeah, he'll be in tag matches, and he'll talk in the beginning of the show, and then he'll be in a tag match at the end of the show or whatever. But he's not going to be on. He's not going to be doing 20-minute dog collar matches on Monday Night Raw where he gets color, and they go for 30 minutes or something. That's just not going to happen. So it's really a matter of what to expect in what WWE is versus what AEW is. AEW is clawing at they're climbing. They're trying to climb. They're clawing at things, and they're going to try to throw their top guys, the guys that get the eyes on their TV show. They are going to throw them at the audience as much as they possibly can because they need eyeballs on the product. WWE has the opposite problem per se. They're going to have their top guys tease you so that you will continue to watch the show. And Will you see more of CM Punk? Yeah, probably. He'll get 5 minutes in the beginning of the show, and then he'll get a 60-second backstage segment, and then he'll be involved in a four-way in a tag team match at the end of the show, or he'll be involved in a 6-man tag match at the end of the show. None of that'll mean shit, but it'll all build to something that'll pop off at the pay-per-view, right? But for the performer particularly, they're going to keep him safe. He's going to work very safely. He's going to throw a few punches, maybe play a few hits there at the end of the night. That's not going to hurt him. And he's going to do it.
Implying that CM Punk is going to be nothing but 5 moves of doom?
Absolutely. He is absolutely going to be used like John Cena. There's no doubt in my mind. In fact, if I'm betting, I would bet that John Cena probably got more TV time because he wanted to, and he wanted to be involved in more stuff than CM Punk's going to. CM Punk's not going to want to be involved in the shit that John Cena was involved in, because John Cena would randomly come out, talk to everybody involved, and try to mediate, but not, maybe take a bump, take a punch here and there, but nothing, no matches really. He was just there to kind of fuck around and be like, "Hi everybody, I'm John Cena, I love you." CM Punk's not going to do that.
So I feel since we're talking about Phil, we need to kind of transition into his first spoken words on WWE television in almost 10 years on Monday Night Raw last week. And it's received quite the mixed reception.
As it probably should have.
From correct. Fans and legends and the internet wrestling community as a whole.
Well, all of this was always going to be looked at with a fine-tooth comb.
So, I've got to know, Tom. Punk comes trotting out at the end of Monday Night Raw for 6 minutes. He had 6 minutes. I feel like that was a gross error, only giving him 6 minutes at the end of the show. I feel like he commanded at least 15.
I'd have given him 10, but still, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Regardless, I think that we can agree that 6 minutes was just not sufficient.
Oh, yeah.
Especially considering that we have not seen him on WWE television in a decade. I like a lot of things about how that was played. There was definitely plenty of WWE shenanigans in there, and the fact that he just straight discounts the fact that his AEW run ever happened, that he's not been in a wrestling ring in 10 years.
No, he said this ring. He meant...
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I get it.
It's still there, though.
He spoke to the smart mark. No, he spoke to the smart marks. Let's be fair.
But I've got to know, what was your initial reaction when he looked at the crowd and he said, "I love you guys," and they were not in Chicago. They were in Nashville.
They were in Nashville. You're right. They had been in Chicago the night before, or the 2 days before. So the way he prefaced it, I kind of knew what he was going to say. However, when WWE clipped it, they certainly didn't leave the preface of him saying, "I'm afraid of how true this is." No, and he is. I think he learned a lesson too. I talked about people learning their lessons. Sasha Banks particularly. I think that CM Punk learned a lesson. I think that Phil Brooks learned a lesson. I think that he thought, he thought things were a certain way. He tried, he did. And he found out that things were not a certain way. He was actually, he was mistaken. He didn't admit that he was mistaken, but I think that he admitted that he thought he was mistaken. He left thinking, AEW thinking, man, I was wrong. I made a mistake. One, I do still love wrestling, but man, this is not. I am not here to do this. This is not what I'm here for.
Yeah, I'm not here. I'm not here for this bullshit. Like, I'm not here. Like, I just miss doing this, and to deal with all of this bullshit is just too much.
Right. And, you know, I think that part of his promo particularly was that I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money.
I want
And-
to get to that at the end. I want to get to that in a minute.
Okay. So, you know, I really think that, like, you know, I think that he went to AEW probably in his mind with the best of intentions. And I think he tried. He tried to be a leader. He tried to be a bunch of things. And I think that was quickly shut in his face. Not only was it shut in his face, they kind of like probably picked on him for it, like fuck you, old man, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that you know, that really put him off to it, and I think that it, you know, over time, and you know, he had some time because he was clearly hurt after Brawl Out. So he had to go away. He needed to get surgery. He needed to get that done. And then he was like, all right, well, you know what? Maybe everybody got on the wrong foot. Let's just bury the hatchet. It's going to be fine. But the Bucks were like, fuck it. We're not burying the hatchet. Kenny Omega fucked off. He wasn't burying the hatchet either. He was like, no, I don't want to talk to this guy. I don't care. Because why would they? They have all the power. Why would they give him any power? Why would they give him an inch, right? Because
especially when you're in a situation where Tony Khan has given him everything to make him happy. And do you think that could possibly be some spite, you know, or
for sure,
you know, like
for sure, they kept them off the Saturday show to keep Phil happy, you know, to keep them away from each other, so that didn't pop off. But it didn't matter because then they got, you know, Jack Perry out there doing, you know, just getting in his face and being a dick about it. So, I mean, it's just what it comes down to is, you know, nobody was the boss in AEW. And we talk about this all the time. Nobody's the boss. Nobody's telling anybody no. Nobody's telling you shut the fuck up. This guy's drawing money and you're a piece of shit. Shut up. Sit down. You'll get your match. Leave him alone. Nobody's saying that. You know, nobody's being a parent. Because at the end of the day, and that's what CM Punk said. I work with fucking children. I'm old. I'm hurt. And I work with fucking children. And that was it. They were all acting like children. And we've seen, like, it's one thing to be like, oh, CM Punk, what an old man, fucking bitch. But, like, we've seen nothing to, like, to counter that argument, right? Like I can't say that like the Young Bucks have done what's best for business since then. They've really done a great thing, and or Kenny Omega or anything like that. It's not been anything like that. It's been like, no, we started this company, we're the OGs, fuck everybody else, and they're driving it into the ground because they're chasing everybody who could be a draw away. They chased Cody away. They chased Phil away. They're about to chase more people away. It's going to happen.
When did you become a Phil apologist?
Look, I still think this is going to blow up in WWE's face too. Like, let me pump the brakes here because this is not going to end like amazingly for WWE. Like, this is purely a money thing. This is I at no point do I believe that this is going to go on for years and years, and Phil's going to be the final one of the greats to ride off into the sunset. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Hey, he said it himself. He's a changed man.
For now. And it's fine. And you know what? WWE is going to protect that and ride that out as long as they can. You know? Because
I heard that there's a behavior clause in his contract.
Oh, well, right. Look, if he pops off, like, he'll be gone like that. And they will bury him immediately.
Do you? And here's a hot take. He could be a complete nutter cocksucker backstage, and we're never gonna fucking know. They're gonna let him work this fucking contract unless he fucking walks out. Like, WWE will never admit that he's a problem.
No. I don't think anybody's gonna make it a problem either.
No, because everybody's professional in WWE, and
Well, because they
everybody's
wouldn't be there
going
if
to
they
do business.
They wouldn't be there if they weren't. That's why I believe all of this Drew stuff, all of this Seth stuff is all purely kayfabe, because these people wouldn't still be on TV if this was real. They just wouldn't be. And these guys are still the stars of the show. They get multiple segments every week. There's no way it's not. And they're going to do the business. Look, they're not going to travel together. They're not going to hang out and drink Pepsi together and get fucking, I don't know.
No, because rumor is the dirt sheets have reported that Seth Rollins is a Coca-Cola guy.
And, they're not going to get right. And they're not going to get, Jesus Christ, Walt. Jesus fucking Christ. They're not going to get in and out together. But you know what? They're going to go out there and they're going to do business together. And at the end of the day, they're going to be like, yeah, we weren't friends, but you know what? What a hell of a run. And that's all they're going to say. And they're going to keep it as close to the chest as possible. Even if they looked at each other and they were like, I don't fucking like you, but let's make some fucking money.
Yeah.
And there's going to be there's going to be half that locker room that's going to have that conversation with CM Punk. And they're going to hug him. And they're going to say, I'll see you out there, but I'm not driving you to McDonald's later. And he's going to be like,
they have Coke anyways.
Huh? Yeah.
They have Coke anyways.
Exactly.
Phil doesn't go to McDonald's. Phil goes to a classy joint like Carl's Jr. that has Pepsi or,
Taco Bell? Taco Bell is Pepsi.
Taco Bell does have Pepsi. That's a real classy joint.
It's a super classy joint, especially since they've remodeled all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, real classy joint.
Glorious. I had some Taco Bell on Saturday. It was fucking great.
I had some Taco Bell on Saturday too, pal.
Fucking great. I had it after we went to Ice Nine Kills, and in this moment, got a high five from Spencer from Ice Nine Kills. Actually, it was this man. Got a high five from Spencer. Ice Nine Kills. It was great. And then we got some Taco Bell after the fact. Not me and Spencer. Me and my girlfriend got some Taco Bell after the fact. It was great. It was fantastic. What a fantastic night. Ice Nine Kills, Taco Bell. What a good night.
Yeah, can't go wrong.
I mean, does any of that sound bad to you? I'd do that tonight.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, "Hey Tom, you want to leave and go watch Ice Nine Kills and then go get Taco Bell?" I'd be like, "See you, Walt. I'll see you later."
Yeah,
and you'd be like, "That sounds like a great night. Have fun, buddy." But yeah, that's what happened. And so it was. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, Phil. No, yeah, I don't think they're going to be friends with him, but I do think. I mean, somebody will. I mean, I'm sure he's got friends, but I think everybody's going to be cool with making money. And I think
for sure.
I think everybody's going to be cool with bigger ticket draws and bigger pay-per-view buys. And
I'm going to be really interested to see where these feuds with Punk go, as far as what talent is going to say to him. Because you take a guy like Kevin Owens, who just recently publicly said, "Hey man, if Phil's here to have fun, I'm happy to have him here." Yeah. And we do know that KO is very close friends with the Young Bucks. So maybe there's some carryover animosity there or something to that effect. We don't know. But I think that the rival promos are going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, and I think that if anybody has a problem, I think they just, I don't want to say they keep them away from each other, but they just don't work together. And, I think there's going to be enough guys. I mean, clearly the WWE roster is fucking huge. Like, there's enough guys on the WWE roster who are not afraid of having a great feud with Phil Brooks and drawing money and yet being cool.
And yet we sit here and we don't talk about roster bloat like we did with AEW. I think that it's because that just continues to show that one of these things is not like the other.
Well, I mean, WWE has infinite time too. It's time is almost an indefinite thing with WWE. I mean, they've got 5 hours of TV time, primetime TV time.
So does AEW.
Well, but then they've also got NXT, And then they've also got the network that's got additional shows on it, like Main Event and other stuff like that, and NXT Level Up, where they've got, you know, new talent, and even they put older talent on there too. So, you know, and same thing with NXT. They've been putting, you know, top tier guys on NXT every week. Like the New Day was just there. You know, they've got main roster talent. What, 8-10 hours a week? Like more, as many hours a week as they can get on TV. Shit, if they have too many people, they'll just put another 2-hour show out.
Yeah.
Plus, they've got a pay-per-view every month. They've actually got more than one a month because they've got the Saudi Arabia shows and.
No, that's just become a monthly pay-per-view now. It's not its own thing anymore. It's its own. All of these, like the Bash in Berlin that's next year, are essentially becoming the quote-unquote in-your-house type pay-per-views, right? Where like they're traveling to these international places, and those events are replacing the backlashes or becoming the backlashes, or replacing an Unforgiven or whatever, you know, whatever you want to call it. So I think
I'm just saying, if they're feeling low on TV time, it's not that they can't just manufacture more of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Man, it would be great if we had 4 more hours this month. Oh, wait. Let's have a pay-per-view at the beginning of the month and at the end of the month. They could do that at any point in time because it's on Peacock. Like, they're going to get paid for it. It's going to be a show. They're going to sell out. It's going to like it doesn't matter. They just space it. They just have to space it correctly and it'll be fine. It's like they can just manufacture infinite TV time when they need it, if they need it. And you know what? They actually just cut a bunch of people with the TKO takeover there. They cut a bunch of internal people who were who seemed to be sort of like redundant, I guess, because it's, you know, it is what it is. So they cut redundancies. They did cut what's her name from NXT? They just cut her, unfortunately. She was like the backstage segment interviewee.
Oh yeah, I can't remember what her name is.
Yeah, they just cut her. She was really the only on-air talent that got cut, which is unfortunate because she was good. But I mean, she'll be fine. You know, she's young. She's only been doing this for a little while. It just maybe wasn't working out for whatever reason. She'll be fine. She's good at her job. She'll find another job that she's good at that's doing the same thing.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, it's not a it's you know, it is what it is. I'm sure
there's greener pastures out there, pal.
Absolutely, especially for like the people they cut, because they were mostly executives and back office crew and what have you, and it was redundancy for the most part. And you know, for wrestlers maybe not, but for interviewers, you know, journalists, things like that, there's greener pastures and they'll be fine. So for sure, they tried to cut who was, you know, the least sad amongst them.
You know, and as we continue to discuss greener pastures, I can't help but reference the fact that there's a lot of internet chatter going on that Warner Brothers Discovery is the highest bidder for Monday Night Raw.
I was wondering if you were going to bring this up because, man, that would be crazy, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be crazy?
It's really unfathomable at this point.
Isn't that crazy? For guys our age, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like you just turned 39. I'm about to be 39 on Wednesday. That's fucking crazy to me. That's the craziest thing. Honestly, if you'd have told me that 6 months ago, talking to me about it now.
Yeah.
It still sounds like it still seems to me like there's no goddamn way that it's going to happen. That USA would let Raw go at any point in time. There just seems to be
and especially to go to fucking TNT/TBS.
Right. Because like think about TBS and TNT, like they move shit around all the time. Like that has to be written into the contract that no. It's on Monday. I don't care what the NBA is doing. I don't care what the NHL is doing. I don't care what anything is doing. We are on it Monday at 8 p.m. every Monday, and there is no exception.
Well, I mean,
Raw.
they have a pretty good track record as far as doing that, at least with Nitro back in the day,
Yeah.
not ever really preempting Nitro. So I think that there's probably something built into that. But there's also the discussion that Monday Night Raw could still possibly not be Monday Night Raw after this is all said and done. Now, there's a lot of layers to this Warner Brothers Discovery.
I can't
thing that
imagine. I can't imagine Raw not being on Monday. I mean, I just can't.
It'd be weird, right?
It would be the weirdest thing that's ever happened in wrestling. Really,
It'd be really weird. But let's look at this.
that would be weirder than CM Punk coming back to WWE.
Agreed. Now let's look at the concept of Monday Night Raw possibly going to Warner Brothers Discovery, and let's start peeling back the onion. So we just pulled the skin off, right? Talked about the possibility it's on a different day, the preemption stuff. You know, what does that look like? Hey, like we're not, you're not going to move us for a hockey game, right? Like we've already talked about all of that stuff. So let's talk about this particular piece of business. It's the same network that AEW is a slave to right now.
Yeah. Right.
If you're Tony Khan and you hear this, what is going through your mind?
I mean, little flurries of cocaine, but I mean that's just because you're Tony Khan. Really? I'm so shocked that you no-sold that. I am so shocked. Anyway, if you're Tony Khan, you are in straight up cocaine panic mode.
What do you mean you can put WWE on TNT TBS, huh? Hey, listen, I thought we had a good thing going on here, man. Listen, we got Rampage on Friday nights. Rampage, you know Rampage. You love Rampage. We talk about Rampage all the time. I don't. What are you gonna do? Bring in Monday Night Raw? You're gonna make it on Thursday? Monday Night Raw on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday Night Raw. No, it doesn't have the same ring to it. Maybe we call it Thursday Raw Monday. Yeah, we could do that, right? That makes sense. Yeah, totally. But listen, I digress. I don't understand why we're going to be bringing in this other company. Like we're trying to beat them. We're their legitimate competition right now, and you want to bring them in? What does that mean for our business relationship? I mean, Jiminy Christmas, man, you made me put the show on Saturday nights, and now that it's not doing well in the ratings, you want to just get rid of me? I just don't understand what did I do to you? I sent you a Christmas card. Weren't you on the Christmas card list? I made sure you were on the Christmas card list. I don't understand why are you trying to bring WWE in here right now? AEW's trying to do its thing. I just don't understand what the problem is here.
You need to clip that, what you just did, because that was awesome. Clip that, and that needs to be a short. But yeah, no, I don't know. Like that's what I'm talking. Like that's what I was talking about earlier with WWE potentially buying AEW. Like what if Turner is just like Turner Network's like, hey, we bought the better brand. Actually, they're on Monday and Friday now. We really don't need you. We're gonna put young Sheldon on instead. Sorry, fuck off. Like that. Tell me that's not probably what would happen, right? Like that's probably what would happen because literally, I'm sure they would have paid like buku money for like they'd pay out the nose for that for WWE. Like it's gonna be $2 billion at least, or
especially for what's becoming the A show again. Like Raw has become really important, and if CM Punk is going to live there, it's going to become exponentially more valuable from a revenue standpoint.
Well, and also too, I had heard that the potential was for SmackDown, Friday Night SmackDown, to go to USA. Back to USA.
That is happening. That is set in stone for mid 2024.
So if USA has SmackDown and then they want to sell Raw to TNT, I mean, for WWE that only makes like that's the kind of, to me, that's the piece of the puzzle that makes the most sense, because then at that point they've sort of got that Warner Brothers and they've got that NBC like cable, like that they've got that stronghold, right? And they've got two shows that are basically A shows. I mean, comparatively anyway. Like they've got two shows that are A shows, just cemented on the two cable network channels. And what the fuck are you gonna do with that? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, how does anybody else compete? Like,
I
that's
mean, they're
the
doing it right
ultimate
now.
fuck you, I own AEW.
Yeah, they're doing it right now.
Yeah.
You know, with the Fox deal, right? But I want to go back to the Onion because we're going to continue to build upon this, right? So obviously, I feel like Tony Khan has to question the motive behind bringing WWE in. Boom, we talk about that. So now let's talk about Triple H possibly wanting to move to Turner to outdraw them on their own platform, right?
And that'll happen week 1.
Is that a Triple H spite tactic from the NXT thing? Because I really do feel like this entire him being the guy is solely based on Tony Khan saying we chased you off of Wednesdays.
Yeah, no, Triple H is absolutely that guy. He's that spiteful of a guy. I really do think that if the opportunity presented itself and he had any say in it, because I mean he's basically creative now, right? But I'm sure he's got a lot of pull in what happens back, you know.
Well, he's not on the board anymore, but
right,
he's in charge of talent.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got a little bit of pull, and you know his whatever his opinion is being heard, right? Like people are listening. Whether or not they're going to listen to him, I think, is something that we'll find out. But I think that he has assured them that, yeah, if you do this, the ratings are going to be incredible because I will make it so. I have the talent to make this, you know, the greatest wrestling show that the Turner Broadcasting Network, the Warner Brothers, has ever had. And I will do so.
Even though Nitro used to pull 8 million viewers every Monday.
That's true. But times have changed. And you know what? TBS hasn't seen 2 million viewers on a Monday in a long time.
Well, they're certainly not seeing it on a Wednesday either. So back to my Onion, right? So now we look at it from the WCW Monday Nitro era standpoint. Could you imagine if WWE goes to Turner, stays on Monday in the Nitro bubble, and does big business? Like, that's a slap in the face if I've ever seen one.
Oh man, if it shows up and it does consistently 2 million viewers on Monday on TBS or TNT, which is the bigger network now, TBS or TNT?
They flip flop.
Yeah,
TNT's become very sports centered. You know, they've got the NHL deal, they've got the NBA deal. It's all on TNT. You know, and then they pick up the college basketball tournament. You know, so TNT.
Baseball's still on TBS, right?
Yes.
So that's the other thing too. So I think that's really the crux of the situation, right? Is that whether it shows up on TNT or on TBS, like, you know, there are seasons in which they have, you know, stuff, especially because the Atlanta Braves, you know, on the Braves on TBS, you know, could potentially bump Raw. And I feel like that could be what actually, you know, sort of like shoots the whole deal down, right? Is if it's like,
and there's been plenty of instances in both WWE and AEW just this year with network hopping, where like Fox has had some things going on a Friday night, and WWE's been on FS1.
But that was fun. But USA is really consistent. USA always has Raw on Monday, and I feel like that's really always been the consistent. Because yeah, Fox, you're right, has bumped,
except in the dog show days.
Yeah, I forgot about those. But even, I mean, that was just once a year, really. Like the Westminster dog shows, like that was really just once a year. So once a year is different than like, well, the Braves are playing. It's It's like, really? The Braves?
Yeah, but
Now?
they're like 2-84. Like what?
Really? The Braves? It's not like they're a dynasty anymore. Not like winning every other year. No, I mean, I think it really. I think that's really the discussion point, right? Is whether or not sports is going to push Monday Night Raw around a little bit, push it from one channel to the other, and yada yada. Because I think that's really what, to me, what would kind of be the thing, and I think that's really kind of the thing that kind of like harpooned SmackDown too, is that they push it to FS1 not terribly often, but I feel like it happens once a month or so, maybe once every other month. And those shows do terrible numbers when they do that, and Triple H knows that, and everybody in the Endeavor group's going to know that. So to say, okay, well, you can have yada 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 deal, but at some point, because they make less money when they push it, and it does bad numbers too, and they know that. So if Turner's going to bounce them around more often than USA is going to, because USA never bounces Raw.
No.
I mean, I don't see, maybe you take less
Well, I mean,
money.
how can you at this point? Like, I mean, Monday Night Raw was on TNN for a little while. It was on Spike for a little while.
Mhm.
Like, how, and I think that when they came back to USA, it was all about, hey, this is your time slot. Like, we'll never ever ask you to be away from this. And I think that level of consistency is what makes Monday Night Raw special.
It does, and to me, I would be shocked. I would think if they leave, the only way they would leave is if they're going to continue to get that level of consistency. Because SmackDown is one thing; it's been bounced around a lot, and it's always. There have been times where it's been kind of positioned as the primary show, but it's been bounced around a lot, so that if SmackDown gets pushed to FX1 or FS1 or whatever, those of us who would watch SmackDown, we get it and we'd follow it around. But we're the ones who see it on FS1, right? Like we're part of that when it goes from 2 million to 300,000. We're part of that 300,000.
We are.
So I really think that, I don't expect. I expect consistency out of Monday Night Raw. So I guess we'll see. But I would be really shocked if that's what happens.
So back to my onion, and I've got one more layer that I would like to pull away. And this is just fantasy booking at its finest. You think Vince McMahon's, because he's the one that's negotiating this TV rights deal, do you think that in his core he's like, all these years later, I'm going to get to stick it to Ted?
Ted's still alive.
Ted is still alive.
He's like 100, but he's still alive. There might be some of that. Honestly, as far as Vince, I don't know that they're going to go. But the fact that this has as much traction as it does, I think is literally just part of that. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the end result, but I think that Vince definitely gets his jollies by making one. Ted probably think about it and go, son of a bitch. But he's like 100 years old. I mean, Ted probably doesn't care anymore. But, it probably makes him happy because he's still competitive. Like he's the guy from he's the last holdout from the. I mean, he ruined the territories, but he's the last holdout from that. Really, everybody else is dead. And he probably gets a little bit of the jollies from that. I think that it probably he's thought about it. It makes him happy. He's happy to make them sweat at least a little bit. I absolutely think Vince is happy to be like, he chuckles, he laughs about it at home with his paralegal. Who told you to stop? Anyway, sorry.
Oh,
that,
goodness gracious.
that was awful.
So, all of this, right, is just gives us as smart fans all of the gossip and the drama that we need, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you alluded to this earlier, you know, our age of fan and our generation of wrestler feeling like they're a ghost backstage at this point in time in their career, and they're very unhappy that they made the move to the greener pasture that was AEW. The Hardys are upset and or frustrated with their positioning within the AEW product. What is your take on the fact that the Hardys are frustrated in AEW?
I mean, I'm not shocked at all. Look, they signed Matt Hardy because at the time, Matt Hardy, oh my God, what a big name. And they pushed him and they put him all over TV. And
He
it
teleported.
He teleported. It was a disaster. Like we talked about this. It was a disaster. Like, is there a better word for it?
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah, it was a disaster. Anyway, so during the said Matt Hardy solo run disaster, he teleported. He was magic for a little while. And then all of a sudden, immediately that stopped because like people shut the TV out. Like they looked at the ratings because now they can do that. And like Matt Hardy teleported and like half the audience was like, this is stupid. And they shut the TV off.
Now, mind you, Matt Hardy went to AEW with his broken character, coming off of a pretty successful tag team run with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was killed by Edge. If you remember correctly, Edge killed him. That was the end of his WWE run. He got concertoed by heel Edge, who had just returned, murdered in a huge segment. Fantastic segment. One of the
main event on Monday Night Raw.
Main event on Monday Night Raw was murdered by Edge. Couldn't have been a better send-off for Matt Hardy. Could not have been running higher at that moment in time. Showed up in AEW and was the limpest, shortest penis of AEW of all limp, short wrestling penises. It was so fucking bad. Like that's the only way to describe it.
Well, because
right?
nobody told him no.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody told him no, and he went out there and made a fool of himself.
Yeah, he's like,
And
"Hey,
then-
Tony, I'm gonna teleport." He's like, "Cool, man. I'm into it. Let's see how it translates. How do you want to shoot it?" Like that's what that conversation looks like.
Yeah, and then it happened, and 250,000 people shut the TV off and went, "This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life," because it was.
And it was so bad it overshadowed the fact that Brody Lee was named the leader of the Dark Order, which in smart mark circles we scoffed at the time.
Yeah.
But for the AEW fan that was really looking forward to the payoff of that storyline, that was a big deal to them.
Yeah. So anyway.
And meanwhile, while he's doing this, Jeff's over in WWE in the main event picture. He's not winning. I mean, but he's a credible challenger, you know. And
he's about to fight Roman. He's about to get a push to fight Roman at a big pay-per-view.
Yep. And he's got Matt whispering in his ear, "Hey man, just fucking bug out, man. Come over here. We'll do the Hardy thing over here. It'll be great. The nostalgia of it that fans will fucking mark out over. We can work with the Bucks. We can work with FTR." Like he's in his ear, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he walks away.
He walks out, literally through the crowd, left the building, gets fired because they're like, "You fucked up. What's going on? Take a drug test." He's like, "No, I won't." and that, and allegedly, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. According to
Maybe
Matt,
he wasn't, but I mean, he sure as fuck got himself right back in trouble. Fucking after he threw himself off of a fucking a catwalk.
No, it was a ladder. It was a really high ladder in the ring through chairs outside of the ring onto like Sammy Guevara of all people.
Yeah. Now, didn't he climb like the side of the arena and like?
He did that too. There were a few different things.
And then a couple weeks later, he's going to the brain doctor, fucking drunk on fucking a liter of Fireball.
Well, it's because he hit his head like 5 times in like a week. I mean, I don't know. I hit my head once in a week, and I'm like, God damn, I never want to do that again. He was just like, I'm gonna do it again.
Because there was nobody to tell him no. And
now
that, you know, all the shit with Jeff happens, they throw Matt, because he's probably a big contract. They throw Matt into this big money Matt role, and it's fucking flat. It falls on its face, and fucking,
it's stupid. It's the worst part. It's boring. It's not even like it's bad. Like teleporting Matt is bad, but like it's boring, which is even more damning in wrestling, right? Boring wrestling is damning.
You know, and all the meanwhile, Jeff's laying low, fucking WWE style, trying to stay out of the public spotlight, because Tony says he needs to take some time off, and then he comes back, and it's underwhelming, and nobody cares, and then they're not on TV, and then they don't understand why, and then Jeff's really upset, and Matt's really frustrated, and Jeff's sad that he left WWE because he was trying to have a solid run on his way out, and their window's closing, and all of these fleeting thoughts. My question is, what did you expect was going to happen?
I mean, I don't think that AEW is a place for anybody like them, and I think I think they should have known better. And maybe they should have known better. That's really the, like, you know, it could have been handled differently. But I think that at the time, you know, people still had faith in Tony Khan to book things well. Because he had won Booker of the Year, and people were like, well, you know, fucking Dave Meltzer knows what he's talking about. I'm just saying, at the time, this was 2 years ago. At the time, people were like, well, you know, I'm on the road a lot. I drive a lot. I don't get to watch a whole lot of things. You know, maybe I don't know. But, like, the writing was on the wall at the time. And everybody thought, it's just the internet. The internet's negative about everything. People on the internet. But it was like, nobody was telling people no. People don't know how to get themselves over because they'd had Vince McMahon getting them over for decades. You know, and that was just the case. It was everybody had a soft, cushy job, right, in WWE, and it was a soft, cushy job. People told you, get out there, do this, but get over doing those things.
Yeah.
And they got to WWE, or they got to AEW, and it was like, all right, you got 20 minutes, let's go. And it was like, what am I doing? I don't fucking know. Go. Do whatever you want. And you know, to somebody like that's kind of a cool thing. But also, like, as somebody who's been told that, it's fucking terrifying. And you either sink or swim on live television. I've never sunk or swum on live television, but I can only imagine how that could flop or be stupid as shit. I watched it with the Hardys. It was stupid as shit. They clearly needed somebody to tell them, do this, don't do this. Love you though, boys. They needed direction. They clearly still need direction.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's kind of why they're in the position that they're in, where they're like, maybe we'll go back to WWE and have this final run. And you know what? Honestly, if they're booked in WWE, they could have a final run. I don't know that it's even worth money now, because I feel like they've devalued themselves so much just being fucking losers on AEW that it doesn't matter anymore. Like, am I wrong? Like, was that nostalgia pop not their return in, when they showed back up as a tag team at WrestleMania, what was it, in 2019? 18?
Yeah, it was when the New Day was the host. I don't remember what year it was, but then they came out and they won the tag team championships.
Yeah, that exactly. Like, that's burned in my brain.
That pop was wild.
But then they're not going to get that again. That's it. That was it. That was the moment, right? And then Matt had a really good run with Bray. They are not the same wrestlers they were, 4 or 5 years ago. That they're not those guys anymore. They're old.
No.
They're old men. They're very old men who have devalued their brand.
And like, if they were working a different style, I think that if they would have evolved, they might still be relevant today. And I know Matt tried that, but for whatever reason, just outside of that TNA run, that Impact run, he just couldn't get that over.
Yeah. And it was
did a pretty decent job in WWE with Bray, but like,
but a lot of that was Bray too. Like, Bray was over.
Yeah.
Like he was just holding Bray back. Really, if you think about what Bray did after that, he was holding him back. Like, that was sort of a low point of Bray Wyatt, but it was a high point of Matt Hardy. So I don't know. I feel like they've signed their own death warrants at this point, and I feel like there's no point in bringing them back to WWE because they're not talkers. Neither of them are talkers. They can't talk their way out of a paper bag. If Matt given a leg drop is probably going to break his hip. Jeff's going to give the stiffest of swanton bombs that look like shit. Kevin Owens gives better swanton bombs than Jeff Hardy does.
Hey, Wardlow
gives a better. Exactly. I mean, it's like,
listen, Wardlow given that swanton bomb moments before Jeff Hardy walked down the ramp is the most AEW thing that I've seen on an AEW show.
I couldn't say that better. That was, yeah, absolutely. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's the epitome of, like, hey, maybe don't, like, somebody needs to say, hey, don't do that swanton bomb because Jeff fucking Hardy's coming out after you. Nah, fuck it. Like, and if you're Wardlow,
what are you doing up there anyways?
What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, because hear me out, as we're talking about people that AEW botched to nothing.
Oh,
people
now they're trying. They're in full reverse.
You want to? It doesn't matter now. You want to talk about people who AEW. God, everyone was so high on Wardlow. Like 6 months ago, 8 months ago. How high were we on? We were like, fucking Wardlow is going to be the best ever. And
ruined.
God, even if he left and went to WWE right now, he'd be a jobber. Like, God, if he's not one of the Devil's masked men, he's got to be, right. Got to be one of the Devil's masked men.
I hope not.
He might be the devil. I mean, God, what a nail in that coffin that would be. Man, bury AEW alive at that point.
The internet.
Shoot them.
Does believe that Wardlow may be the devil because when he made his ring entrance, his hair was kind of like he had just had a hood on.
So I don't think he's the devil necessarily. So I thought about this because I've rewatched this now twice. I don't think he's the devil. He can't be the devil because it's he and Adam Cole, but he's definitely one of the people in the hoods. That being said, I'm not sure they'll carry that over. He may have just been like, hey, put this on, get out there, do a wrestling thing. He may not be part of it at all. He may have just been like an extra. But that's his hair was messed up like that because he was in a hood. He was absolutely out there. No point was that not Wardlow. But I'm not saying that AEW is not good. It's not still. It was me, like Adam Cole be like, it was me, but it wasn't really him. It was Wardlow, because it wasn't Adam Cole. Adam Cole was not out there in a hood. Adam Cole does not look like those guys. Those guys were bigger than him. They were taller than him. Those guys were not Adam Cole.
Baby.
But I'm not saying that that's not what AEW is still going to do. I'm just saying.
It certainly wasn't the Hardys.
No, it certainly wasn't the Hardys. Definitely was not the Hardys. And the Hardys are, man, you want to talk about guys who have screwed themselves. Man, we talk about guys who have made the wrong decision every time they've had, like, they've been given everything kind of on a silver platter, if we're being honest. Like, once they showed up. And they've made the wrong decision every time. Think about Matt and Lita. Think about Jeff and all of his transgressions. Think about it every time, man. Every single time.
Yeah, but I don't think it's fair to say that they've been handed everything on a silver platter. I think that they've definitely had the opportunity for folks to look the other way a few times. But I mean, they were on WWE TV when they were 16 years old, bro. Like, lying to work enhancement matches. Like, they got beat up for a long time on WWE television.
I'm not saying they haven't taken their bumps. I'm just saying that they've, maybe worn out their welcome, maybe worn out all of their good graces and their, all of their genie wishes are maybe out at this point. And, maybe it's just time. Maybe it's time to hang it up. Take that WWE Hall of Fame. Take that ring and, maybe just show up and say, hi, be an ambassador. Because, they're allowed to do that. Like, they've earned that at least. Exactly. They can come out, and they can do that in their, they can do that in weird tuxedos, actually. And like with the pants. The Hardy pants, and like maybe a tuxedo T-shirt.
Saying, "Hey, I'm trying to be formal, but I'm here to party."
Exactly.
I'll be interested to see what happens with the Hardys moving forward now that this has been made public, and see if they continue to voice their displeasure, or if Tony Khan will present them with something. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out. And I'm probably not really going to be paying that much attention to it because it's irrelevant to me.
Nobody cares. I mean, I'll watch them get inducted into the Hall of Fame when that happens as a tag team. Otherwise,
I don't think coming back to WWE is in the picture either. I think that the way that the current roster sits, there is not a fucking place for their nostalgia pop.
No, not at all. Not for anything that's not more than like the Hall of Fame night where they come out for the Hall of Fame and stand there amongst Dave Bautista and everybody else. Speaking
of, big push to put Bray Wyatt in the WWE Hall of Fame this year.
They're gonna absolutely. They I don't think they can. No, he's gonna be the. He'll be the keynote of it. They'll have two people speak to him of him. They'll have people speak for him. His wife will be there to accept it and what have you. JoJo will be there. It'll be. I would be shocked if they don't put him in this year, and if they don't do it this year, it'll be next year.
Time will tell. All right, what we got?
My match of the week was actually the tag team turmoil match. Or was it a turmoil, or was it that like weird gauntlet thing?
It was a gauntlet match.
Yeah, that gauntlet thing they did on Monday Night Raw last week, where they had the Creed brothers, they had Imperium, they had DIY. Man, that was great. I went back and rewatched that because it went on for so long, and I didn't get to watch all of it. And God, I love the Creed brothers. I really love the Creed brothers.
You've been high on them for a little while now, pal.
I really love the Creed brothers, but I like all those tag teams, really. And man, it just went like for a WWE, for a Raw that was kind of otherwise, in my opinion, kind of like it was like, oh, we opened it with Randy Orton and we closed it with CM Punk, and then everything else kind of in the middle was filler. Like this went on forever, but it was great the whole time. And for like a mark like me, it was really like that's what they were like. Okay, you know, you knew you were gonna get Randy Orton back. You read that. You knew it was coming. That's why you're here. You saw that though. CM Punk's at the end of the show. You're gonna continue to watch. But hey, for you, you fucking Mark, we're gonna give you this tag team like gauntlet thing, and you're gonna have a great time with it. Because we're gonna let the Creed brothers win, and you already love them because you're a Mark. And that fucking cannonball thing that he does, God, is that cool? That is never not cool. He like hangs midair and then somehow speeds up and is just like bang. That's so cool. That is the coolest thing ever. Like I've not seen a move that cool since Jeff Hardy started doing the Swanton Bomb, like back in 1999 or 1997, whatever, however old, whenever that happened. So fucking cool. That's the coolest thing. I love that. Honorable mention, though, we had two meaty men smacking meat. You had Bronson Reed versus what's the Viking Raiders? What's the big guy in Viking Raiders?
Eric. No,
Ivar. Yeah, you had you had Bronson Reed versus Ivar. That was just two huge men slam. God, they killed each other. Those guys both woke up the next day and went, "Did I hit a freight train?" As a freight train, like it just hurt so much. But that was great too. It wasn't as long and it wasn't as like drawn out and like it didn't pop me as hard, but that was really cool. I just love when big guys smash each other for like 5 minutes. That's like, I think that's so great. That's like that's one of the things that got me into wrestling was just big guys smashing each other. And you know, it still pops me as almost a 40-year-old man. So it is what it is. But those are my matches of the week. Match of the week, particularly being that gauntlet match, just because it was so long and so good. So many good things happened, and the Creed brothers won. And you were right, and just great stuff.
Well, as we know, when I give my match of the week, I am not nearly as animated as Tom. My match of the week came from AEW Dynamite, and it was a Gold League tournament match. Best thing on AEW television right now is this fucking Continental Classic tournament.
So I've you're right. I've changed my tune on this because you are correct. It is putting better matches on television than however, I still think that the overall prize is really stupid, so it doesn't really make sense as to why these guys are beating the hell out of each other, but it has made for good television in the correct perspective.
Jay White versus Swerve Strickland.
Yeah, it was fucking good, wasn't it? It was fucking good, wasn't it?
I love watching Jay White do his thing. I love watching Swerve Strickland do his thing. We got Prince Nana come out and did his dance, right? Holding up on a crutch, but you know, I mean, there's some storyline. Great wrestling match though. Everything was snug, looked good, sounded good, was intense.
Those guys,
well timed.
Swerve and Jay White are so good. Like, they're so good. Like, those are the kind of guys that AEW needs to continue to like push and like give time to. Those guys are so good. Like, that's real. Like, that's how you get eyeballs on your product. Is just like, hey, you guys are fucking great. Get out there and let's just let people watch you be good at what you do, and that's what's going to be good TV. And that's You're right. Okay. I'm sorry. You're right. I still think the prize is stupid.
Who cares? Who cares?
I mean, you're right. You're right. Who cares? Exactly. I should care though. That's the thing, right? Is that I should care, but you're right. Who cares?
But they care, and it shows that they care.
You're right. They care. I don't. But man, that match was fucking cool. You're right. That match was. Everything Swerve has done, honestly, in the last 2 months has been great.
Listen, that's a big win for Swerve too on a Wednesday night.
Really was. Swerve is really like. If they don't capitalize on this, they could not be more stupid. Like he's clearly.
Well, I don't think they were gonna hotshot. I didn't think they were gonna hotshot Adam Copeland and Christian Cage into a TNT title match on a random Wednesday, but yet here we are. So, I mean,
because those ratings be bad, but yeah, I mean that happened too. Look, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage they went out there. Edge and Christian went out there.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Anyway.
Nope.
Anyway, but they went out there
Mm-mm.
and put on a good piece of business.
Go fuck
a lot
yourself.
faster than they should have. And I know they wanted to drag it out too, but they were like, shit. Nobody cares about anything else that's happening. We need more people to care about more things. So sorry guys. So we're just gonna pull this trigger, and it's happening on a fucking Wednesday. I'm gonna watch. It's my birthday, and I'm gonna watch. But still, I'm gonna watch.
Well, hopefully Adam Copeland and Christian Cage are able to really let their chemistry, their lifelong friendship and brotherhood come out on TV, and hopefully it's a good piece of business.
Or maybe they join forces and tell everybody to fuck off.
Well, it doesn't matter now because Adam Copeland doesn't need a dinosaur, because although I did think it was funny that Christian fumbled the bag and called Killshot Luchasaurus.
He did fumble the bag. I saw that too. I was like, what about Killshot? Or no, Kill Switch. Kill Switch. What about Kill Switch? Where'd Kill Switch go? Is he dead? Did he go extinct? He's extinct. Oh no.
So, real quick sidebar, and then we're going to get out of here. Luchasaurus can never go back to being Luchasaurus. Like
it was a stupid name from the get-go. So, but yeah, you're right.
You didn't like the tail whip?
It was just a spinning back kick.
You didn't like the...
No, it was never over for me, unfortunately.
He's been a dinosaur for like 100 billion years, pal. Like, that's pretty unfair of you.
Well, I didn't care for like 2 of those years, so.
Yeah, fucking Mark.
Right?
Anywho. Check us out over on Twitter and Instagram. Fuck, I did it again.
Twix.
X. And Instagram.
Look, X is going to go away at some point. I don't even know why we still
think?
push that.
Yeah.
Nobody, even Apple doesn't advertise on it anymore. It's bullshit. I don't even go on there anymore. I go on there to I have to make sure nobody's around, because it's like sometimes I'll put it up and it's like, do you like titties? I'm like, what the fuck are you sponsoring right now? Jesus Christ.
You know what I don't like about it? I don't like that whenever we share happenings from the Twix,
there's no preview.
There's nothing. It's just
fucking garbage.
It's a spyglass. It's like what is this?
Terrible. It's what a terrible website. It's so awful.
No preview available. Wait, why? Why?
And they're chatting.
You know why? Do you know why? Because they want you to click on it to go to this tweet, as opposed to just seeing the screenshot. It doesn't even
work anyway. It's like, we can't find this tweet. Like, you have to open it in the app. It's so
bullshit.
what a terrible application it is. Like it's gone from like, oh, there's got a gazillion billion people on Twitter, and now it's like there's 100 people on Twitter. It's stupid. It's so goddamn stupid.
So, anyways, at @1_fall WC. That's ONE. I mean, I wouldn't waste your time looking at Twitter, anyways. You know, I mean,
just follow us on Instagram. It's way better anyway.
Yeah, way better. And I actually do stuff on Instagram.
Exactly.
From time to time. So, yeah. Hey, if you're hanging out with us, please hit that thumbs up button. We appreciate you. Maybe even consider subscribing. It would be swell. If you're watching us, listening to us, hanging out with us anytime, anywhere, we appreciate you. With all that being said, thanks for hanging out. It's all love. We'll catch you next week. One Fall WrestleCast. Fucking Derek, man. You know, like, just